You first get the feeling something's wrong driving over Farm Road 730 in the town of Boyd in Wise County, northwest of Fort Worth. This portion of the West Fork of the Trinity River is almost high enough to cross the road, and on both sides of the road more closely resembles the Mississippi than the Trinity. Closer examination reveals the flooding isn't confined to one bridge over one road. It's severely affecting some 50 to 60 farms and ranches in the area. For example, over 600 of the 1,000 acres at banker Lloyd Hinkle's ranch are underwater, wiping out the hay crop usually grown here and submerging the pasture land where Hinkle's cattle usually graze. Perhaps banker Hinkle can afford it. One man who probably can't is W. Richardson, who lives just across the river. 2/3 of his 48 acres are underwater, all because of the flood, which moved in late last week.
Friday when we had that 5-inch rain, and the water level came up to this height. This was the height of it Friday, and I put this stake in here, and it hasn't moved 1/4 of an inch up or down since that time.
Well, how long will it stay like this?
It'll stay like this till they handle it with those gates up there at Bridgeport.
These are the flood control gates allegedly responsible for the problem. The water level at Bridgeport Lake is left high most of the time, so there'll be plenty of water to send down the Trinity to Eagle Mountain Lake, which supplies Fort Worth with a lot of its water. Usually this works just fine, but when there's a heavy rain, Lake Bridgeport floods, and much of that excess is sent downstream. The water travels well within the banks of the Trinity until it reaches the open plain around Boyd, where the flooding occurs. That's happened half a dozen times so far this year. The Tarrant County Water Board disputes that claim. They say the water is controlled and that landowners around Boyd will have to resign themselves to the idea they're living in a floodplain and that one way or the other they're going to get wet. As for keeping the level of the lake too high, they say that's needed to keep adequate water on hand for Fort Worth. No one, of course, wants to jeopardize the Fort Worth water supply. You never know when one of those long, dry spells may settle in. But it seems there ought to be a better way to do it. A way to both safeguard the Fort Worth water supply and keep the area downstream from here from turning into one huge lake every time there's a hard rain. Dave Cassidy, Channel 8 News in Wise County.